Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book Organizing and Managing Insanely Great Products, no other than Mr. David Fradin. Welcome to Book 101. Welcome back, Mr. David. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
My background is in product management at Hewlett Packard and Apple, and having brought about 75 products and services to market over the last 50 years, I wrote a book about those experiences called Building Insanely Great Products. And then we talked about that in a previous podcast with you, Dan. And
Yes.
then a follow on book in the series is Organizing and Managing Insanely Great Products. And it talks about for the CEXO suite, how to organize and manage their product teams in order to have successful products. Part of the reason that this is important is about 35% of all new products that are introduced each year fail in the marketplace. And it's primarily because the basic principles of organizing and managing insanely great products are not followed by those organizations. And that failure represents about a waste of $1 trillion in investment each year, and it's also growing.
So, Mr. David, how do you identify a target market's unmet needs when developing a product?
Well, the first thing you do is, in terms of organizing and managing, is you put what we call listening posts out there, where you're listening and observing what it is that your customer wants to do, why they want to do it, when they want to do it, how they want to do it, where do they want to do it, what's preventing them from getting it done, how important is it for them to get it done, and is there alternatives that satisfy that unmet need? And what you're trying to do is identify 15 unmet needs that others are not happy with the current way that those needs are being met. And as a result of that, you have the window of opportunity for your product or service to open up. And you need to continuously monitor that on a periodic basis, depending upon how fast your market changes, so that you can modify, add features, enhance your product or your service in order to continue to fill 15 unmet needs, or transition to what the Boston Consulting Group calls a cash cow and stop your investment in the product or service, uh, and just reap your profits from it.
What process can ensure creativity while maintaining focus on the product vision?
Well, the processes that you develop for your organization need to be uh, documented and repeated and improved upon so that you can climb up what Harvard Business School calls the maturity curve. I had a client once that had five product failures in a row, and I asked them if they had a product framework or product development methodology, and they said no. And the VP of product management there said the result of not having such a process that's repeatable and improved upon creates a process or creates a culture of blame within the organization. And that's because everybody will blame everybody else for the failure of the product. So it's important to have a reputable, repeatable process in your product development systems.
So, Mr. David, can you share to us top five of your insanely great products that you shared to the world?
Well, that fits along the mnemonic of my company's name, Spice Catalyst. And the first word, spice, where the S stands for a product market strategy. The P stands for the repeatable processes that we just talked about. The I stands for having the information necessary to make informed decisions about the product and the market. The C stands for understanding the customer, which I described a few moments ago in terms of understanding what the customer wants to do. And the E is to make sure that your employees and your consultants are trained in the 130 competencies required for product success.
Very well said, Mr. David. So, how do you balance innovation with feasibility during the ideation phase?
Well, first thing you got to do is clearly define the problem, and that's the basis of engineering. Is define the problem. Then you can identify potential solutions, and that's where innovation comes in. Innovation is a sophisticated word like entrepreneur, which means simply to come up with a better way to do something, a faster way, a higher quality way, a lower cost way, or a way of doing it with style.
So, what role does customer feedback play in shaping products, features, and functionality?
By understanding what it is that the customer wants to do, then you can roll up the features of your product in order to help them do what it is that they want to do faster, better, with higher quality, or with style, which is where innovation comes in.
So, we are now in the 21st century, Mr. David. What are the greatly insane, great products that we need now?
Well, I've identified about 16 different areas in which major new products will probably be developed over the next few years. One of them is dealing with pandemics, for example. Uh,
Yes,
Another one is innovations in food, not only the growing of food, but also the distribution, consumption, and disposal. Somewhere in the neighborhood of what was it, 50% of all food that's grown ends up in the garbage dumps, contributing to carbon emissions and climate change. Another
yes,
area of great products is going to be in autonomous vehicles. Another one is going to be in climate change itself. Another one will be in gene splicing. Another one would be augmented and virtual reality. Another would be in big analytics, big data, the wisdom of crowds. Another would be digital twins. That's where you create a digital twin of some sort of organism or activity. For example, General Electric aircraft engines developed a digital twin of their aircraft engines, which enabled them to predict when maintenance should be performed on various components within the engine. A similar kind of efforts going on now to have a digital twin for the human being, which then would enable drug companies to test their potential drugs and their impact and the side effects in the digital twin before it being tested on humans, and thus rapidly speed up the process of qualifying drugs for certification. Another area is in the area of digital transformation. Another area is the changing birth rates, the aging of the population. Japan is ahead of us with a very rapidly aging population, and China
yes.
right now is not far behind. How are you going to take care of these senior citizens? Another area is artificial intelligence, which is getting tremendous amounts of publicity and huge investments of capital. Billions and if not trillions of dollars are flowing into artificial intelligence. Another area will be 3D printing. Another area is the Internet of Things, with the ability of your car to communicate with the car near you so they don't run into each other. Another area will be marketing automation. And then there'll be technology and platform innovation, similar to the move from personal computers and mainframes to the cloud and computing in the cloud. And lastly is robotics. So pick any one of those areas, and there are plenty of opportunities for great new products in any of those areas.
Very well said, Mr. David. Very well said. And we are looking forward for those innovations. So, how do you decide which features to prioritize for a minimum viable product?
Well, it's a equation which I discuss in my books that is relative to the importance of getting something done and how satisfied one is with the current way of doing it. So if you have a thing that someone or a company wants to get done, and they are fairly well set, and that's very, very important. Say on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10, but they're pretty much satisfied with how it's being done now, like an 8. Then that's not probably a feature you should go ahead and develop in terms of the top of your priority stack. But if you have one that's got a 10 in terms of importance, but current satisfaction is somewhere in the area of like a 3, then that's some area that you should consider developing at in terms of a higher priority. For example,
Yes.
a lot of people have said that you can't go out and ask people what they want or need because people have to understand what the problem is first and then define the solution and to say that's the thing that I want or need. So when Henry Ford allegedly over a century ago went out onto the streets of Dearborn, Michigan, not far from where I grew up, and he asked people if they would like to have a car, they said, "No, I don't want to have a car. I want to have a faster horse." Well, if he had grabbed a mug of beer and sat on the stoop in one of the saloons there in Dearborn and watched people beat their horses to get through town faster, from one place to another, he would have realized that what people need is a faster horse, not a faster car. And perhaps that's part of the reason why he didn't name the first automobile, the first car, an automobile or car. He named it a horseless carriage. So that's what's important is to observe what it is that people want to do, interview people to find out more about what they want to do in terms of the who, what, when, where, why, and then survey a representative sample that represents your target market. And lastly, if you have big data available to make decisions on, use that big data, knowing full well that the wisdom of the crowds may not be all that wisdomly. An example of this is people go into a nightclub, fire breaks out, everybody tries to leave through the same door that they came in, and lots of people pass away in the breath of the fire. So, wisdom of the crowds, and just because everybody else is doing it, doesn't necessarily mean that's the wisest decision.
Definitely. So, what are the key qualities of a product manager leading an outstanding product?
Well, a product manager, and I prefer to call them a product success manager,
Yes.
has to have good communication skills, written and verbal and interpersonal. They have to have good persuasion skills. They can persuade others to their particular point of view. They have to demonstrate leadership so that people are willing to follow them, especially in terms of having a set of values that they follow and hope others around them follow. And they have a vision for the product as to where the product will be in the future. They also have to have skills in negotiation and skills in mediation to resolve disputes. They have to have the ability to execute, to get things done, not just talk about it. They must have expertise in interpersonal and organizational behavior, the ability also to put together a strategy and a plan for the product, which is the product market strategy, the S of the SPICE mnemonic for the 5 keys to product success. And they can bring to bear innovation, ways to get things done better, faster, higher quality, and with style for that product in that particular market segment.
Organizing and managing insanely great products. Which chapter do you want to elaborate more?
I think it might be interesting to talk about negotiation and mediation. Uh, to be a successful negotiator, you have to get the person you're negotiating with to invest time and effort and resources on behalf of their portion of the negotiation. An example of this is if you go into an appliance store and you want to buy a particular appliance, if you can get the salesperson to engage with you over a period of time, then when you say, well, that's too expensive, and you start walking out, chances are they'll offer you a better deal. An example of this is when I was writing the negotiation section of this book and how to negotiate. I was interested in buying a new induction range microwave and refrigerator. And I noticed that the prices at that time in the retail stores in Silicon Valley were more significantly more expensive than if I bought the appliances online and had it delivered. So first I had to figure out which make and model of each of those three appliances I wanted. And at that time, it was not easy to research for that. There wasn't any salespeople around to help out. I finally nailed that down. And then I noticed there was about a half a dozen retailers online that sold these appliances. So I opened up a chat session with each of them and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for this make and model refrigerator, microwave, and induction range stove. What's your best price?" And they all came back to me with a quote. Then I took the lowest quote and went back to the other ones and said, "Hey, I got this quote from this outfit. Can you match it or beat it?" And about two of them dropped out. Four of them came back with a better number. And I took the best number from that and I continued this process. And in about 2 or 3 hours, I saved myself about $5,000 because I got folks to engage in the energy and the effort to participate in the negotiation. The second area is mediation. And
Yes.
I used to be an environmental mediator, so I know a little bit about it. And the key thing there is you sit down with each of the parties to the dispute separately and privately, gain their trust and their respect, try to identify what their barriers are and what their primary objectives are. And then you keep meeting with them and going back and forth and trial ballooning solutions with them until you get to the point that you know you've got some areas of agreement. Then you get them together and you start with those areas of agreement. And eventually you can get to an area where they agree upon what they agree and they agree on what areas they disagree and get them to suggest solutions to those areas of disagreement so the overall solution can be brought together. And that's the essence of mediation. That's what's been going on in the Middle East over the past year to bring the conflict in Gaza to a close. And that's what Henry Kissinger, with his shuttle diplomacy, demonstrated to the world that that's the appropriate and the right way of resolving these kinds of disputes.
Definitely. Totally agree, Mr. David. So, what are your inspiration message for those innovator out there?
Well, hopefully that your product or service will improve humankind and make them better and the environment better. And as a result of that, you've achieved what Steve Jobs talked about in terms of changing the world.
Yes, definitely. We salute you people out there, inventing innovation that help our lives easier. So, what are your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
I like to wake up in the morning and do whatever I feel like that's fun and enjoyable, and wake up at the time that I just happen to wake up. So that's my objective is to just have fun.
Have fun, people. That's the key to have what, let's say, good life, to have a good life. Organizing and managing insanely great products. What do you think the flaws of your book?
Say again,
The flaws of your book.
the thoughts of the book,
Yes, no, the flaws.
the
Something that
flaws.
you're missing in the book.
Oh, I haven't thought of that. I think it's pretty complete in terms of helping management put together a product success team to have a successful product or a successful service.
Definitely. So to sum up our discussion, Mr. David, how do you differentiate your product from competitors in a crowded marketplace?
It's satisfying those 15 unmet needs I mentioned earlier better than any of the competitors, and that turns into your value proposition, your key selling points, your advertising messages, and so forth.
Definitely. One more. How do you incorporate emerging technologies into your product roadmap?
Well, like in those 16 areas that I mentioned earlier, you should sit there uh, and say, okay, this is my product today. What potential emerging technologies will have an impact upon that product tomorrow? Probably an example of that is Grammarly, which is a grammar correction tool that you can use uh, in like Google Docs or Microsoft Word. And
Yes.
they started incorporating generative artificial intelligence to take whatever is you've written and change the tone, change the tense, change the level of understanding of the words that you've written. Apple Intelligence, which just came out, enables you to rewrite whatever you've written to make it clearer or make it appeal to a different market segment better. Things like that.
Yes. Mr. David Fradin, thank you so much for sharing your talent to the world and looking forward for more empowering books like this. So can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Yeah, if you just search for my name on Amazon in any country of the world, you'll see the books that I've written, or you could go to spicecatalyst.com and there's links to the books and my training courses and my consulting and product success.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. David Fradin because if you support him, more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. David, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Bodycon people, see you soon. You are most welcome to come back, Mr. David, if you have a new books to promote.